Have you ever felt that embarrassing, uncomfortable bloating that just won't quit? That pressure building up in your belly after every single meal, no matter how carefully you eat? Maybe you've tried cutting out certain foods. Maybe you've taken those over the counter pills from the pharmacy. And yet here you are, still dealing with the same painful gas, the same bloating, the same urgent discomfort that makes you feel like your own body is working against you. Well, I need you to know something important right now. That is not just a normal part of getting older, and you do not have to live with it. Because today I'm going to share with you a simple, powerful Japanese remedy, just one spoon taken on an empty stomach, that has been quietly changing the lives of people who had given up hope on ever feeling comfortable in their own bodies again. I'm Dr. Sarah Brooks. I've been practicing medicine for over 20 years, and today I dedicate my work entirely to helping seniors live healthier, longer lives. And in all my years of practice, digestive issues, especially chronic gas and bloating, are among the top complaints I hear from my patients every single week. So, today we're going to fix that together. You are absolutely not alone in this. In fact, according to the American College of Gastroenterology, digestive discomfort affects more than 70 million Americans. And seniors are disproportionately affected because of changes that naturally happen in the gut as we get older. But here's what most doctors never take the time to explain to their patients. The gas and bloating you're experiencing is almost never just about the food you're eating. It goes much deeper than that, and once you understand what's actually happening inside your body, the solution becomes surprisingly simple. And that's exactly what this Japanese remedy addresses in a way that nothing else does. Now, before I get into the remedy itself, I want you to stick with me because what I'm about to share in just a moment is going to completely change the way you think about your gut health. And I promise you it will be worth every second. If any of this sounds familiar to you, the bloating, the discomfort, the embarrassment, the feeling that your digestive system just isn't working the way it used to, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button right now. It helps other seniors find this content, and it truly means a lot to me personally. So let's talk about what's actually going on inside your gut because this is where it gets really interesting. As we get older, on Dinar, and I'm talking about from our mid 50s onward, the body begins producing significantly less digestive enzymes than it did when we were younger. These enzymes are the workhorses of your digestive system. They're the biological tools your stomach and small intestine use to break down proteins, carbohydrates, and fats into particles small enough to be absorbed by your body. When you were 30 years old, your body produced these enzymes in abundance, and your food was broken down efficiently and comfortably. But by the time you're 60, 65, 70 years old, that enzyme production can drop by as much as 40 to 50%, according to research published in digestive health journals, and that's a massive difference. What happens to food that doesn't get properly broken down? It travels into your large intestine partially intact, and that's where the bacteria that live there, and we all have trillions of them, begin to ferment that undigested food. And fermentation, as you probably know from watching bread rise or from how beer's made, produces gas. A lot of gas. And that gas has nowhere to go except up or down. And either way, it's uncomfortable, it's embarrassing, and it can be genuinely painful. But that's only part of the story because there's something else happening at the same time that makes everything worse, and most people have absolutely no idea about it. The gut lining itself, this incredibly sophisticated barrier that lines your entire digestive tract, begins to change as we age. The cells that make up that lining don't regenerate as quickly. The protective mucus layer becomes thinner, and the whole system becomes more reactive and more sensitive. Doctors call this increased intestinal permeability, and some refer to it informally as a leaky gut. And what it means practically is that your digestive system becomes more prone to irritation, more reactive to foods that never bothered you before, and much more likely to produce those awful symptoms of gas, bloating, cramping, and irregular digestion. And here is something I tell my patients that always surprises them. This gut lining issue can actually affect your entire body, not just your stomach, because when that barrier isn't working properly, inflammatory molecules can get into your bloodstream and trigger low-grade inflammation throughout your whole system, which is connected to fatigue, joint pain, brain fog, and even mood changes. Your gut is truly the foundation of your overall health. And when it's struggling, everything else feels it too. Now, here's where the Japanese remedy comes in. And I want you to pay very close attention because this is the part that genuinely excites me as a doctor who has seen this work firsthand with my own patients. Japan has one of the lowest rates of digestive disease in the entire developed world, and it also has one of the highest life expectancies on the planet. And researchers have been studying why for decades. The answer isn't just about their diet broadly, it's about specific traditional practices and ingredients that have been part of Japanese culture for centuries, and that modern science is now validating in remarkable ways. The remedy I'm going to share with you today draws from this tradition, and it combines three powerful elements that work together to address all three of the root causes of chronic gas and bloating that I just described: the enzyme deficiency, the gut lining deterioration, and the bacterial imbalance. And the beautiful thing is that you can find every single ingredient at your local Walmart, CVS, or Whole Foods, and it takes less than 2 minutes to prepare every morning. Let me tell you about Margaret first because her story is one I think about often. Margaret was a 73-year-old retired school teacher from Tennessee who came to see me after years of struggling with what she called her embarrassing problem. She had stopped going to her weekly bridge club because she was so worried about passing gas in front of her friends. She had stopped traveling to visit her grandchildren because long car rides were agonizing. She had given up her beloved gardening club because bending over made the bloating unbearable. She came into my office looking defeated and a little ashamed. And I want to be very clear that there is nothing shameful about this. It is a medical issue with real physiological roots, but the point is that her quality of life had been completely stolen from her by this digestive problem. Within 3 weeks of starting the morning remedy I'm about to share with you, Margaret called my office to tell me she had gone back to her bridge club. Within 6 weeks, she was on a plane to visit her grandchildren in Colorado. Her story is not unusual, and I tell it because I want you to understand that what I'm sharing today is not just about physical comfort. It's about getting your life back. Now, let me walk you through the three components of this Japanese-inspired morning remedy because each one has a specific and important role to play, and understanding why something works makes you so much more likely to actually do it consistently, and consistency is everything with gut health. The first and perhaps most central ingredient is fermented ginger. It's specifically ginger that has been prepared in a way that activates and concentrates its most powerful compounds. Ginger has been used in Japanese and broader Asian traditional medicine for over 2,000 years, but what most Americans don't realize is that the way you prepare and consume ginger makes an enormous difference in how effective it actually is. Fresh, raw ginger contains active compounds called gingerols, and these are powerful anti-inflammatory agents and digestive stimulants that help relax the smooth muscle of the intestinal wall, which means food moves through your digestive system more efficiently and with far less cramping and gas buildup. But when ginger is prepared in a specific way, which I'll explain in just a moment, those gingerols are converted into even more potent compounds called shogaols, and multiple studies have shown that shogaols are particularly effective at stimulating the production of digestive enzymes, reducing intestinal inflammation, and accelerating what doctors call gastric emptying, meaning your stomach processes food and moves it along much more quickly and cleanly. Research from the University of Maryland and studies published in the World Journal of Gastroenterology have both highlighted ginger's remarkable effectiveness for digestive complaints. And in Japan, some form of ginger is consumed with virtually every major meal, often first thing in the morning, as a way of preparing the digestive system for the day ahead. The second ingredient in this remedy is apple cider vinegar, specifically raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with what's called the mother still in it, which is that cloudy, slightly murky substance you see settled at the bottom of the bottle. Now, apple cider vinegar might not sound Japanese, but it actually fits perfectly into the tradition of fermented, probiotic-rich foods that are at the absolute heart of Japanese dietary culture, which includes miso, natto, pickled vegetables, and many other fermented foods that Americans may not be as familiar with, but that scientists have studied extensively. The way apple cider vinegar works in this remedy is primarily through its acetic acid content combined with the living cultures in the mother, which together do something critically important. They help restore the proper acidity level in your stomach. Many people, and this is something that surprises almost everyone when I explain it, actually suffer from low stomach acid rather than too much stomach acid, even though they may experience symptoms that feel like excess acid. When your stomach acid is too low, it cannot properly break down proteins and certain minerals. It cannot send the right signals to trigger enzyme release further down in your digestive tract. And it creates an environment where harmful bacteria and yeast can overgrow in ways that dramatically worsen gas and bloating. One small spoon of raw apple cider vinegar taken on an empty stomach helps gently restore that acid balance, primes your stomach for the day's meals, and the probiotic cultures in the mother begin working to shift your gut microbiome in a healthier direction. You can find Bragg's organic raw apple cider vinegar at virtually any grocery store in America, from your neighborhood Kroger to Whole Foods to Walmart, and it costs just a few dollars and lasts for weeks. The third component is Manuka honey. And this is where the Japanese tradition of using specific medicinal honeys connects beautifully with modern science in a way that I find genuinely remarkable. Not all honey is created equal, and Manuka honey, which comes from bees that pollinate the Manuka tree native to New Zealand, but which has been deeply integrated into Asian wellness traditions for centuries, contains a compound called methylglyoxal at concentrations that are far higher than in regular honey, and methylglyoxal has been shown in clinical research to have powerful antibacterial properties, specifically targeting harmful bacteria in the digestive tract, including certain strains of H. pylori, which is one of the most common causes of chronic stomach discomfort and gas in older adults, and which many people carry without ever knowing it. On top of that, Manuka honey contains prebiotic oligosaccharides, which is a fancy way of saying it feeds and nourishes the beneficial bacteria in your gut, helping them thrive and multiply while the harmful bacteria are being suppressed. It also coats and soothes the gut lining in a way that supports that barrier repair I talked about earlier. Manuka honey is available at Whole Foods, at many Walmart stores, and at health food shops across America. And while it is a bit more expensive than regular honey, you're only using a small amount in this remedy, so one jar lasts quite a while. Look for a jar that has a UMF rating of at least 10 or higher. That number tells you the concentration of active compounds is high enough to actually be therapeutic. Now, let me give you the exact preparation of what I'm calling Dr. Brooks's Japanese morning protocol, because the way you combine these ingredients and the timing of when you take this remedy are both important factors in how well it works. Here's exactly what you need and exactly what to do. You will need 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated ginger root, and fresh is ideal here, though ginger powder works as a substitute if fresh isn't available. 1 teaspoon of raw unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother, 1 teaspoon of Manuka honey with a UMF rating of 10 or higher, and approximately 4 to 6 ounces of warm water. Not hot, not cold, but warm. Roughly the temperature of a comfortable bath. To prepare this remedy, you'll grate your fresh ginger into a small cup or mug, add your warm water, and let it sit for about 2 minutes so the ginger infuses into the water. Then add your apple cider vinegar and your Manuka honey and stir gently until the honey dissolves. That's it. The entire preparation takes under 2 minutes. You drink this first thing in the morning, at least 15 to 20 minutes before eating anything else, so that your digestive system receives these ingredients on an empty stomach and they can begin working without competing with food for absorption. Do this every single morning for at least 3 weeks, and most of my patients begin noticing a meaningful difference in their gas and bloating within the first 7 to 10 days, with significant improvement by the end of 3 weeks. Now, I know some of you might be wondering about the taste, and I'll be honest with you, it's not sweet like a dessert, but it's not unpleasant either. Most people describe it as pleasantly spicy and tangy, with the sweetness from the honey, and many of my patients tell me that after the first week, they actually look forward to it in the morning because they associate it with how much better their stomach feels throughout the day. If you're enjoying this information and finding it helpful, this is a great moment to become a member of our channel because I share even more detailed home remedy guides, deeper dives into gut health topics, and personalized wellness advice exclusively for our members that I simply can't fit into these videos. It's a wonderful community of health-conscious seniors who support each other and share their experiences, and I would love to have you join us. Now let's go deeper, because the morning remedy is powerful, but it works even better when you understand the full picture. And there are 2 more strategies I want to share with you today that will amplify your results dramatically and help you truly say goodbye to chronic gas forever rather than just managing it day to day. The second solution I want to talk about is something that millions of seniors across America are completely unaware is affecting their digestion, and it has nothing to do with what you eat. It has to do with how you breathe. This might sound strange at first, so stay with me because the science here is fascinating. When we are under stress, and as we get older, many of us carry a chronic low level of stress from health concerns, from finances, from changes in our social lives, from the natural anxieties of aging. Our nervous system shifts into what scientists call sympathetic dominance, which is the fight or flight state. And when your nervous system is in that mode, your body actually shuts down digestive function. Blood flow is redirected away from your gut and toward your muscles and heart. Enzyme production slows. The rhythmic contractions that move food through your intestines, a process called peristalsis, become irregular and sluggish. And this creates the perfect conditions for food to sit too long in the wrong places and for bacterial fermentation to go into overdrive, producing enormous amounts of gas. The Japanese have a cultural practice deeply embedded in their daily life called mindful eating, which combines slow, deliberate chewing with conscious breathing before and during meals. And research from Harvard Medical School has actually validated this, showing that people who practice diaphragmatic breathing, slow, deep belly breathing, before meals measurably increase their digestive enzyme activity, improve their gut motility, and report significantly less gas and bloating than those who eat quickly and under stress. So here's the practical application, and this is something you can start doing today with zero cost and zero preparation. Before every meal, and I mean every meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, take just 60 seconds to sit quietly and take 5 slow, deep belly breaths. Breathe in deeply through your nose for a count of 4. Let your belly expand rather than your chest. Hold for just a second. Then breathe out slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. Do that 5 times before your first bite of food. This activates what your nervous system calls the parasympathetic response, the rest and digest state, and it genuinely measurably improves how efficiently your body processes that meal. Some of my patients tell me this single change made a noticeable difference within the first week. And when combined with the morning remedy, the effect is compounded beautifully. So many of my patients have told me over the years that they were embarrassed to bring up their digestive issues even with their doctor. And I want to address that directly because I think it prevents a lot of people from getting the help they need. There is nothing embarrassing about talking to your doctor about gas and bloating. It is one of the most common digestive complaints in the United States, particularly among seniors, and it has real physiological causes that deserve real medical attention. That said, when simple lifestyle changes and natural remedies like the ones I'm sharing today can address the root causes safely and effectively, I am always a strong advocate for trying them first. Write in the comments right now. Which of these strategies are you already using, or which one are you most excited to try? Your experience and your story could genuinely help someone else who is watching this video right now and feeling hopeless about their digestion. And I read every single comment personally. Now let's talk about the third and most powerful solution, the one that brings everything together and that I consider the real foundation of long-term digestive health for seniors. And this one involves what I call strategic probiotic rebuilding. Not just taking any probiotic supplement you pick up at the pharmacy, but specifically targeting the strains and food sources that address the unique gut environment of aging adults. Here's what happens to your gut microbiome as you age, and this is genuinely important information that I wish more doctors took time to explain. The community of bacteria living in your intestines, and there are literally trillions of them, more individual organisms in your gut than there are cells in your entire body, undergoes significant changes from middle age onward. The diversity of the microbiome, meaning how many different species of bacteria you have, tends to decrease. Certain beneficial strains that were dominant when you were younger begin to decline, including species of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium that are particularly important for controlling gas production and maintaining the integrity of the gut lining. At the same time, certain less friendly species can take advantage of that space and multiply. And many of these species are far more efficient at fermenting carbohydrates and producing gas. This shift in the microbiome composition is one of the primary reasons why digestive issues become so much more common and more severe as we get older. And it's why simply avoiding certain foods, while helpful, is rarely enough on its own to solve the problem. The approach that has the strongest evidence behind it, and that I have seen work consistently with my senior patients over many years of practice, is a combination of targeted probiotic rich foods and a simple dietary tweak that creates the ideal environment for those beneficial bacteria to thrive. On the probiotic food side, the most accessible and culturally familiar options for most Americans are Greek yogurt, full fat if possible, without added sugar, and look for one that specifically says it contains live and active cultures on the label, and kimchi or sauerkraut, which you can find at most grocery stores, including Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and increasingly at regular supermarkets. I know kimchi might sound exotic to some of my patients, but I always tell them that the flavors are very approachable, and a small amount, just a tablespoon or two with a meal, is enough to deliver a meaningful dose of beneficial bacteria to your gut. These fermented foods introduce living probiotic organisms into your digestive tract in a form that your body recognizes and accepts easily, and they work synergistically with the morning remedy I described earlier in a powerful way. But here's the dietary tweak that most people miss, and it is arguably the most important piece of this entire puzzle. You need to feed the good bacteria you're introducing, and the way you do that is by eating what scientists call prebiotic foods. Foods that contain specific types of fiber that your gut bacteria ferment for fuel, allowing them to multiply and crowd out the gas producing species. The best prebiotic foods for seniors are ones that are already well known in American kitchens and are available everywhere. Oatmeal, specifically old fashioned rolled oats, not the instant kind, is one of the richest sources of a prebiotic fiber called beta glucan. Garlic and onions are absolutely packed with a prebiotic compound called inulin. Slightly underripe bananas contain resistant starch that feeds beneficial bacteria beautifully. Sweet potatoes are another wonderful prebiotic source, and they're delicious and deeply versatile in American cooking. And leeks and asparagus, which you can find at any grocery store, especially in the spring months, are among the most potent prebiotic vegetables available. The key is to introduce these foods gradually, but not all at once. Because if you dramatically increase your fiber intake too quickly, you can temporarily worsen gas and bloating as your gut adjusts. Add one new prebiotic food at a time in small amounts, and let your system adapt over a week or two before adding more. Your gut bacteria will multiply and diversify, your microbiome will shift toward a healthier balance, and within 4 to 6 weeks, most people experience a profound and lasting improvement in their digestive comfort that goes far beyond what any medication or quick fix could achieve. I remember another patient, a 68-year-old retired postal worker from Michigan named Robert, who had been taking expensive prescription medications for his IBS and chronic bloating for 7 years. He came to me frustrated because the medications helped somewhat, but the side effects, dry mouth, constipation, fatigue, were creating new problems while only partially solving the original one. When I outlined this three-part approach, the morning remedy, the mindful breathing, and the strategic probiotic rebuilding, Robert was skeptical but willing to try. He called me after 5 weeks and said, quote, "Dr. Brooks, I've had more good days this month than in the last 3 years combined." He worked with his prescribing doctor to eventually reduce his medication, and today he manages his digestive health almost entirely through these lifestyle and dietary strategies. His is a story of genuine transformation, and it's one I've seen repeated in so many variations with so many patients that I am absolutely confident in sharing these strategies with you today.